Okay, so today we're going to look at how to ragdoll your character when the health is down to zero, and then respawning them at a different location. So you could pick a hospital if that's what you're going for, I mean, or you could just pick a random location if maybe what you want is in a game that doesn't lock you to specific locations. So first, let me align these things to the ground. And for that, I have this area widget. I think I'll make a different video to detail how I did that. So I've already done everything I needed to do. So I'll just go through what I've done and explain to you what I did. So first, you need the player health, and I'm using game save. That's what I call it. That's what Unreal Engine calls it also. So there's this thing, oh, save game. There's an actor, so you're going to have to, create an actor. Normally, go to blueprints and search for save game, but you don't have to do that. I'm just using that to store the character's details, so the next time I respawn, I'll have the same health. Though I don't think I've seen that in any game. Every time you respawn, you usually come back with max health. So what I did is I have this struct for my stats. I have health, stamina, speed, jump, and today we're going to look at the health, which is 0 by default. As your XP increases, your health also goes up. On my save game, I have it here, and you see I already have the defaults, so that's going to be there. And the way I'm using this is I have a different component which I add to different players, so different player character blueprints, so that in case I get rid of the one I'm using, which right now is just the default third person template, if I choose something else, I can always just add the component here. I don't have to redo the work. On this blueprint, there's the usual, create game, find game, create, save. But once I create the game at the game instance itself, I'm coming down to, let me see. It was the load and load. Hold on. Okay, yeah. So my game instance, I'm just calling it active game. So I can get the structure for my start and break it down, then get this health and save it locally inside the your current session. And with that, I can I can check the on take any damage event. Usually you do this inside your blueprint character, but I'm doing it outside so that it gives me the option of just adding this component to any character I need and using the same functionality. Of course, this is tailored for player characters, so it's not going to work for vehicles or anything. So whenever you take the damage, I'm getting my current health, which is okay. So default here is 0, but every time I load this blueprint, it sets the max health, which in your game save, in my game save, it's 100. And then so whenever I take any damage, whenever the character takes any damage, you check, you get the damage, which it's right there. The name is damage, and take the current health, which is 100 minus whatever damage you take. So if the damage is 100, your health is going to go to 0. So you set that new value to the current health, and then check. Right now I'm checking if it's less than 1. So if your health is less than 1, you off yourself, or you get offed. So when your player character dies, uh, the first thing I'm doing here is I'm creating the Killcam widget. Right now it's not super complex. It's just background blur. And what I'm doing is I'm increasing the blur strength using this functionality here. So okay, so there's an animation which I created. So this is not about the animation. It's just something basic. I added the background blur and then added a track for the blur, and add points, set the blur, I'm setting it to 100, then slowly reducing it back to 0. I'll go back here. So with the blur, okay, first of all, I check if there's a different widget, because I know you can get shot by someone who will send your health to 0, then someone else shoots at the same time, and that applies even more damage and sends it to negative. But the first time you're at 0, a widget was created, so you don't want multiple widgets on your screen. So if there's no widget yet, if the list of widgets is empty, create the widget and add it to viewport. So this could be anything from GTAs, wasted screen, something like that. Just customize your widget to what you need. And then, first of all, I don't have a custom animation for the death. So this is where you would play the animation, but I'm just using the default Ragdoll physics. And for that, I'm just setting, simulate physics to simulate. Make sure, if you're using this option, make sure your mesh under collision. Where's that collision? Here. Under collision presets, set it to Ragdoll. Usually by default, I think it's player. Where's that? It's not usually pawn. Let me preset it. Okay, character mesh is the default. And you see there's a bunch of different stuff. It's visible, it blocks camera. It's a bunch of different stuff. If you switch it to Ragdoll, it looks like the same thing. It didn't change anything. Alright, so just switch it to Ragdoll, and then that way when you enable simulate physics, it will Ragdoll. So this is already done for you, don't have to worry about it. If you have custom animations, this is where you play the montage. If you're using animation blueprints, this is where you set, maybe you have a variable for, play or is dying or something like that. This is where you set it. And then, add the viewport, add this to viewport. So they need to see themselves fall. And I guess you could add a delay here. In fact, let me just do that. You could add a delay here. Give them maybe a second to see themselves fall to the ground. And so that way, you don't just disappear without knowing what happened to you. That may look like a glitch. So after the delay, add the viewport, add the widget, and then I'm getting all. So this is how I'm spawning my character in a random location. So after here, they've seen themselves die, and this is where you add the loading screen or Killcam, whatever you need. So when the widgets on screen, they can see themselves, this is when you spawn them to a different location. And for me, I'm just using player stats, so I have a bunch of them. Let me see. Right here, so I have 5 of them, and they're in different locations. I'm not sure if I actually can't see them. Go to this view, still not visible, super tiny. So this is why I think that one is right there. Yeah, so I'm just getting all player stats in the lobby or in the map, and then I pick a random one, and I set my character's location to that specific location. So I'm setting transform. The reason why I'm setting transform to the player character is because I tried setting location and the capsule would go to that location, but your mesh itself would just remain where it died. So we don't want that to happen. I've seen most people complaining about it both on Reddit and their community, UE5 community area. Let me remove this here. So once you set the actor transform of the character, player character, not player pawn, not the mesh, not capsule, the character itself. Once you set it there, remember to set teleport to active, because when you don't, anything that's rigged may fail and you'll get something about trying to move a physics object or something. So just set this to teleport. And then with that done, I have to reattach these two. I'm reattaching capsule component back to or to the mesh, or the other way around. So you're going to attach component to component. For those people who don't know what a capsule and mesh is, this guy check here is the mesh, and the thing around her is the capsule. So they need to be together. If say I set the transform to only the mesh would go to the area I need it to, but the capsule remain at the point of death. But then when you start moving, you'll only move the capsule. When you go to wherever the mesh location is set, you'll see the animations playing, but the mesh itself won't be moving. So usually you move the capsule, and the animation plays on the mesh, so it looks like the character is walking, but it's actually not walking. The movement is applied to this, the main collision using this character movement. So it's very possible to move the camera and the character without this guy in here. So with the location set and these two, attached to each other again, what I do here is I'm setting the relative location and rotation of both the capsule and mesh. And the reason why I'm doing that is because you'll notice that the default for UE5, default mannequin is rotated by 270 and location set down to -89. So I have to do that. There's something I did, to put it down on the ground. I tried setting to 0, but it just never worked for me. So what I did is I took the capsule component and got the minimum Z. So get the component bounds and the box extents, take the Z and multiply by -1. So Z usually gives you the maximum Z. Multiply by -1 gives you the minimum Z, and that's the bottom right there where these wait, let me click on it again. Okay, so where these arrows are right now, that's the -Z for this capsule component. So I'm taking that negative and making sure X and Y are 0. Then I'm applying that to the mesh. So the mesh is going to go directly to where it is right now as you see it on the ground. So that you're not going to find your mesh walking on air. That's a bug I had to deal with. With that done, I have to also rotate. Right now, they're rotating it to 70, but to 70 is just -90. A full circle is 360, so whichever way you want to go. These may differ for you. Yours may not need rotating. I don't know why they imported the mesh facing the wrong direction. But if you use, I think I've used MetaHuman before, and I didn't have to rotate it. I've also used ALS. I don't remember having to rotate it. So, if you have to rotate it, just add this. Set the location, rotation. Again, remember this, the mesh is rigged, so teleport. Once that's done, disable the singular physics to disable the ragdoll, and then I get my active game where I stored, these stats, and I need to get the maximum health because they just die, so we're replenishing the health back to max. So in my case, as I've said before, it's 100. That's what's going to happen here. So once I set the max health, I'm delaying again by only 3 seconds. You can change it, change this to whatever you need, and then removing the widget. Actually, all widgets of this class, the Killcam, or however you've named it. But just for good measure on the widget itself, after the animation ends, so I'm playing animation with finish event. So on the finish event, I'm again removing it, just for good measure. I tried this and I ended up with 17 widgets on screen and I couldn't remove them all. So I just kept playing the same animation over and over. So let's test this and see what it does. Oh, first, before testing it, the way I apply damage is on the vehicle. So right now I'm just testing the vehicle. I have this hit event, and anytime the and the vehicle itself is hit, whatever hit the vehicle gets a damage of 100. So this is hard coded. I gave it 100 so that I could get down to 0 immediately and test the death response thing. Although you could just, this can always be changed. It's not the best way because that means that if you run into a vehicle, you'll die. Seeing that a lot in GTA. And instead of the vehicle killing you, you just ran into it. With all that, I'm not sure if I explained any of it correctly, but let me play. Okay, let's find the vehicle right there. So this way, I mean, you run into it and die. And you come back. Right. So you see, there's nothing major, there's no text or images or something to make you feel bad about dying, so you try not to die. But you can always customize your widget, you can always customize your animations. Can't find any other vehicle. There's a bunch of them, but they're moving. Oh, there we go. And they died again. So I'm not sure if you can see it, but because this whole area looks the same, so I don't know if you've noticed that I'm spawning in different locations. Let me find something that's clear now. Okay, so this one's stuck here, and I'm supposed, if I, when I die, I'm supposed to not spawn next to this vehicle or any of these buildings. So if we go, see where I spawn. Yep, this is clearly a different area. So yeah, I hope it's noticeable. My vehicle is also broken right there. You can see them struggling to think, get out. Okay, yeah, that's all I needed to show today. Hopefully it helps someone. I think this traffic jam is finally over. See where this one goes to. And it follows the other guys. Nice. On the next video, I'm going to show how these align splines, align actors works, but just for a preview, let me show you. If I have a bunch of actors, say in the sky at different heights, and these are buildings, they need to be on the ground. Usually when you have a bunch of this stuff, you have to slowly move them down. But with my utility, I'm going to add a bunch of stuff before I make that video. With my utility here, I can just select a bunch of whatever actors I want to align to the ground and just click on that and they move down there. So there's a bunch of cool stuff you can do with utilities. Next week, maybe Monday, I'll be doing that. So yeah, thanks for watching and subscribe, like, tell your friend to be a game developer.